So yesterday I went for a run, and it was the first run of the springtime when it really felt like spring. And I had this thought come to me, and as soon as I thought it, I knew that I was onto something. And the thought was, this is like a frozen paradise. And those two words just kind of echoed in my mind and just felt amazing to me. And I realized that it was just a great analogy for what we're doing here in so many ways. And a couple weeks ago, I had this dream that there was this room in my house, and I realized for the first time that I'd had this dream again and again, but I'd never questioned it. And that's something I've been doing a lot more recently, is really questioning my dreams and seeing the symbolism. And I feel like the more I make an intention to remember a dream, the more dreams I get that really hit on what I want to know. And if you make the intention and you ask the questions and you take the time to meditate long enough for the questions to come up, to arise, then your dreams are a really powerful tool that will show you the way through. And so I realized that this had been a recurring dream. And you know how sometimes in your daily life you don't even think about a dream at all until it happens again, and immediately, like, in that state, you're like, I've been here before. I remember this. And so, backstory, me and my husband renovated a house, and I did a lot of the gutting of the old rooms myself, and even found like places, small parts of the house that they'd closed off and stuff. And so I keep dreaming that there's this entire room, and there's even a flight of stairs within the room that I have forgotten about, completely forgotten about. And in the dream, I've just discovered it. And it's usually disgusting, and there's a ton of work that needs to be done, and it's mouse infested, and you couldn't live there whatsoever. And I usually just have the feeling, I walk away from the dream feeling amazed and intrigued, and yet completely helpless in being able to have the tools and the wherewithal to put that room back into use. And so I realized what a powerful analogy that was. And I've also been reading certain books and coming across, and this is how the law of attraction ties in. You want to become conscious of something, you want to become aware of something, and so you find yourself led to the very resources that will show to you and help you to contemplate and see it, to become conscious of it. And so it's as if there are parts of our brain, parts of our psyche, and even within and without that we don't use, that are frozen, that we have to learn to unlock somehow. And it's all a paradise. It's all a paradise awakening into spring, ready to bloom, to flower, to bear fruit. And it's up to us to keep the fire burning. And at the same time that the sun shines without anybody doing anything, and nobody is doing anything, you have come, no duality, you have come for a certain purpose, and you do have to tend to these matters. And that's where the practices come in, and that's where the importance of meditation is. And in another insight I had recently during meditation is how all I've ever wanted, and like the most forbidden paradise to me, is just to be okay, just to feel okay and really be able to fully feel my body and feel the connection with my gut and have that deep intuition and be able to listen to that intuition without worrying of offending others, without worrying of being unsafe, to just say, to speak from the heart, to speak my deepest truth. And during meditation, all alone with my eyes closed, with nothing to do but to connect with that feeling, I realized how I also put resistances up in meditation of not wanting to feel it, and yet that is the opportunity that I truly can feel it then. And when I'm under fire, when I'm in a situation where I'm under stress, I feel completely cut off and scared from the thing in front of me. And so I cut myself off in feeling and intuition from feeling that deep connection, that deep okayness. And the more you invite that in and you contact that uneasy, unsettled feeling and truly like try to get to the bottom of it, the more you see that it's a warm, inviting fire, and it's melting, it's thawing out your heart and your mind, so to speak, so you can become conscious of the beauty and the love that is here infinitely for you. And it is truly, it is within and without. And it is, if only it were so simple to forget ourselves and say that we didn't exist. But ironically, it requires a lot of selfish, seemingly selfish focus on ourselves so that we can go forth and fully love others and have the bravery to fully bare our souls and and at the same time be selfish enough not to cut ourselves off, not to cut ourselves off into tiny pieces that feel so awful at the time. So we keep ourselves in the head, and we keep ourselves in that loop, and we keep ourselves in that tiny amount of what we're conscious of, what we've deemed safe, and yet there's this entire landscape of paradise that is frozen to us. If only we could access it. It's as if it's there for us to unlock. And if only you could demonize ice in a frozen paradise, but in paradise there's ice for your drinks to be cold. So it's not so easy as pointing someone in one direction, as telling someone to avoid something. And I'm becoming more highly suspicious that even thinking of it as a path or an attainment or an intelligence can be dangerous in a way, and keeps a part of it frozen from us. And I believe that I would not go so far as to say okay, so this is what I'm suspicious of. Can you be enlightened without knowing that you're enlightened? Don't you have to be enlightened without knowing? Aren't there people who naturally attain this without consciously practicing or knowing that they're practicing? Is this sort of a joke that we're playing on ourselves? And it all comes back. It all comes back to you, and it seems so silly. It seems so like we're talking to ourselves. And yet I believe that intelligence is a way for us to create. And so therefore don't try to throw the self away completely, and do the psychological work that's necessary, and find the empty rooms in your house that you've forgotten about. And never be afraid to connect to who you are, because it is fear itself is the energy behind that fire that will thaw out paradise for you. And as you go about your world and you see yourself in others, and you see and feel yourself in a bird or in a tree, just as your heart opens to the world, you see why this illusory journey is the beautiful thing that it is. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I love you very much. Talk to you soon. Bye.